We just now saw what are the different types of communication. In an organization, the flow of communication is in several directions. Generally, we say that there can be upward communication from workers to the top management. Then there can be downward communication from top management to the lower levels of organizational hierarchy. And then there can be the lateral communication at the same level. Upward communication is usually most difficult one, because when a lower level functionary tries to communicate with a higher level functionary, he usually does this with several inhibitions. As a result, chances of barriers arising in this form of communication are very high. Sometimes upward communication has other problems also. The biggest problem is that when a lower functionary tries to communicate to a higher functionary, the higher functionary has a tendency to not to listen to the whole communication, and he judges the communicator on his own past experience. Thus, the actual communication does not take place and assumptions play a very crucial role. Nevertheless, upward communication is an important feature of organizational communication, and the hierarchy in an organization demand that communications should always go through a channel of communication, which is usually called through proper channel. These organizational issues need to be addressed because upward communication is a difficult way to communicate. Downward communication is the flow of communication from a higher level to a lower level. So this flow of communication is easy because the higher level functionary has little hassles in communicating to the lower level functionaries. Usually it is the instructions or the command or the directions to perform a certain job. The manager has to give directions to his workforce, and the workforce has to carry on the directions. However, chances of barriers are also here because the managers may have one wavelength from which he is communicating, while the wavelength of the target may not necessarily be the same. Nevertheless, downward communication is more frequent in an organization because it is the usual flow of command direction from a higher to a lower level, which is the practice in every organization. Lateral communication is that communication which takes place at the same levels. So in any typical organization, there may be several functional or departmental differences in groups, and these departments, groups or functions have to be communicated and connected with one another, and this has to be done through lateral flow of communication. So people at same level also have to communicate, but this communication is usually very easy because people are communicating at the same wavelength and they are of the same level. So barriers are little less here to arise. Nevertheless, barriers may arise because of several other reasons, personal differences or the differences that arise due to clashes in interest. Usually organizations have all these three communications, and it is through these directions that an organizational management is carried out.